What felt like a useless piece of advice until you actually tried it. My dad always told me to check my mail. Every single time I visited, he'd be like, "Did you check your mail this week?" And I'd roll my eyes and say, "Yeah, sure, whatever." But honestly, I never did. I just let it pile up in this drawer in my kitchen, unopened. Bills, insurance stuff, random junk mail, all of it went straight into what I called my deal with later drawer. My philosophy was simple. If it's really important, they'll call me. I was 24, working as a freelance dog walker. The money wasn't amazing, but I was getting by. I had this little apartment with my roommate Beth, and life was pretty chill. Then Beth got a new job in another city and moved out with like 2 weeks notice. Suddenly, I'm staring at a $1,400 rent bill that I definitely couldn't handle alone. I posted everywhere looking for a new roommate, but nobody wanted to move in right away. I tried negotiating with my landlord, but he was this old grumpy guy who basically told me to figure it out or get evicted. I called my family asking if I could crash somewhere temporarily, but my mom had just downsized to a tiny place after her divorce. My brother was living with 3 roommates already, and my sister, well, we don't really talk much. The eviction notice came on a Tuesday. I had 30 days. Then my friend Jamie said I could crash on her couch for a few weeks while I figured things out. I was so relieved. But then 2 weeks later, Jamie comes home crying because her landlord found out about me staying there and threatened to evict her too if I didn't leave immediately. Apparently having unauthorized people living there was against her lease. So there I was, literally homeless at 24. I had my car and about $300 in my bank account. I spent the first night in a Walmart parking lot, just sitting in my driver's seat trying not to panic. The next few days were a blur of sleeping in my car, showering at the gym, and trying to figure out what the hell I was gonna do. I applied to like 20 apartments, but nobody would approve me without proof of steady income. I looked into shelters, but they were all full. I was spending my last money on gas and cheap food, watching my bank account get smaller every day. After about 2 weeks of this nightmare, I remembered I had some stuff in storage from when I moved out of my apartment. I figured maybe there was something I could sell. Old electronics, textbooks, whatever. I drove to the storage unit and started digging through boxes. That's when I found the mail drawer. I'd literally just grabbed the whole drawer and shoved it in storage without thinking about it. There it was, this pile of probably 6 months worth of unopened mail. I was so desperate, I thought maybe there was like a rebate check or something in there. I started tearing through envelopes, and most of it was exactly what I expected. Credit card offers, insurance updates, random promotional stuff, but then I saw this official-looking envelope from the Department of Revenue, State Treasurer's Office. The return address said Unclaimed Property Division. I almost threw it away because it looked like some scam thing, but I was literally sitting in a storage unit with nowhere to go, so I figured why not? I opened it up, and it was this letter saying they had unclaimed property in my name, and I needed to contact them to claim it. Apparently there was some kind of trust fund from my grandmother who died when I was like 8. I barely remembered her, but she had set up this small trust that was supposed to go to me when I turned 21. Problem was, nobody in my family knew about it, and when it tried to find me at my old address from college, the mail got returned. So it just sat there with the state for 3 years. The letter was dated 4 months ago. They'd been trying to reach me for months. I called the number the next morning from my car, and this really nice lady walked me through the whole process. I had to prove my identity with my social security card and driver's license, fill out some forms, and get them notarized. She said if everything checked out, I'd have the money in about 2 weeks. I was scared to get excited because it seemed too good to be true. But 2 weeks later, I checked my bank account, and there it was, $8,847. I literally cried in the parking lot of the bank. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was enough to get me back on my feet. I found a studio apartment, paid first month's rent and deposit, and even had enough left over to get some decent groceries and replace clothes that had gotten gross from living in my car. The crazy part is, if I had just opened my mail like my dad always told me to, I would have gotten that money months earlier and never would have been homeless in the first place. Now I check my mail every single day.